Alison and Jeff from Hi-Ace, welcome to Australian Musician.
Be with you.
Thanks, Greg.
When you guys first met and you started talking about music, did you find that you had similar albums in your record collections?
We certainly had similar taste. I don't know that we had, we might have had some albums the same, but...
Yeah, there were definitely areas that each of us filled in for the other.
Yeah, but that was the first thing we sort of talked about, I'd say. Is
yeah,
music,
you had more Sepultura.
I had no Sepultura, but I had been to see Sepultura.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
More Sepultura experience.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. No, I don't know that we shared many albums, but lots of the same sort of style of music we enjoyed. But we kind of introduced each other to some different stuff, so that was quite handy.
To be fair, Alison had moved out from England, so she didn't really have an album collection with her.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
So has this project been in the back of your mind for a long time, or was it a relatively new idea?
No, I mean, we've played on each other's recordings, and so it's not like we was thinking, oh, one day we must play some music together. I mean, Alison's been in my band at gigs and vice versa. But this really was born out of lockdown, and we didn't even initially plan to be making an album. We were just sort of getting a little stir crazy, and Alison went, we've got a studio there. We both write songs. Let's just write a song and record it just for something to do.
Yeah, once the creative juices started flowing again, because I imagine for a lot of creative types, they had time to do more of the things they loved, but also I think for a lot of musicians that were forced into this sort of lockdown period, it was quite nice to have a break for a while, and rethink. And so it was probably a good few months into the lockdown before we started. We got bored enough that we were like, yeah, let's make some music. So it wasn't planned at all.
So there was no sonic vision for the band? Did you know what you wanted involved?
No, I mean, the first song that we recorded was a little high-strung acoustic guitar and just our voices. And then the second one was this sort of atmospheric loop going, and we sung to that. And I think Alison added the sloshing of a wine bottle for rhythm at one point.
Yes.
So, I mean, we were just doing it purely based on whatever we felt like doing at the time. And once we'd, made the record and someone wanted to put it out and then booked us on some festivals, we sort of went, that's exciting, but also...
How are we going to do this live?
Yeah, how are we actually going to do it?
So, and it came about because the kids were messing around with this reverse app they had on I think it was on my phone. And
yeah, it was a video app.
Yeah, and you would film yourself or the kids doing something, and then it would reverse it. And so they were having fun doing things like eating crisps or drinking water and spitting it out.
Yeah,
and then in reverse, it looks like, the other way around. So lots of fun times with that. And then at one point we made one as a happy birthday video for a relative. And, we sang the birthday song. And then in reverse, it sounded so cool and spooky and so different.
Yeah, it sounded like a Scandinavian folk song or something.
Yeah, unrecognizable. And just the melody and the phrasing was so interesting that I was like, imagine if you just sort of, improvised any words that, stream of consciousness, play just whatever comes to mind, reverse it, and then listen to the backward words and see if you can decipher what they kind of sound like in English, and just use it in English, but it is in English, just as a bit of an experiment and to have a starting point to see what would happen as a different method of songwriting, literally just for fun.
Yeah, because I mean the melodies, it really struck us. "Happy Birthday to You" is one of the most recognizable melodies and sets of words. Everyone knows that, and yet when we heard it in reverse, it just sounded so utterly unrecognizable and interesting. So it made us think, well, if we sing just a made-up melody and just sung gibberish. And then if you listen to it back, if the melody sounds interesting, then yeah, we might be able to get some words out of it, and we'd both sit there with a pad and just transcribe what we thought the backwards sounds, which of course they were kind of gibberish in the first place, and then were made into utter nonsense by being in reverse. So we'd just write them phonetically, like what does that kind of sound like, and then we'd compare, and we just would have a big laugh with it.
And sometimes we'd have something very similar for a line, and then other times one of us would have something, the other one would have nothing. So I didn't get anything for that line. Let's play it again. And then eventually we would have the beginnings, like most of a song, and then we would have to fill in the gaps and maybe edit it slightly. So it was just like a real sort of fun exercise to do. And it, you know, we laughed a lot, but we also heard these really strange melodies, and the phrasing is so different. So and the other sort of big thing about this record is that we didn't overthink anything. We didn't agonize over any decisions whatsoever. It's like, yep, that sounds good. Let's go with that. And then we can always change it later if we want to, but then we just didn't.
Yeah, because we, like I said, we weren't even thinking, oh, we'll release this. Once we had sort of 4 or 5 songs, we thought, oh, well, we'll do a few more and maybe we'll put it up on Bandcamp or something, you know. Yeah,
there was no agenda. It was just, you know, just for fun and something to do. And after the first one, we were so pleased with it. We're like, this is actually sounding really good and interesting.
It sounds different to what we each do separately.
Really different. Yeah, so the phrasing especially I found was quite difficult to, because we really wanted to sort of match that strange backwardsy sort of sound. And so it was, you know, we got better at it as we went along, because to start with it was really odd.
Well, I think the first few, because we were just doing it as a fun exercise, we were literally going, well, the backwards sounding, you know, melody has this phrasing, and we would really try and match that exactly, which made it very hard to do. As we went along, we'd sort of, you know, cut corners with that and go, well, okay, yeah, that sounds really interesting, but we don't have to have the word finished there, because then it makes it really hard to pick when the next one starts. We'll finish it there, and that'll make it easier. We sort of got a little bit better as we went along at making things easier to replicate. I mean, we were recording it all bit by bit. So I'd do a vocal, and then Alison would match that with her harmony, or vice versa. So that wasn't really so hard to do initially, but when it came to actually singing them again, the earliest ones that we wrote were quite hard to. It's like, where does the next line start? And
we'd have the rhythm, the timing of it is not.
We'd forget. It's okay. Well, you know what? We don't have to mimic the recording exactly. Let's just start the next line when it feels like it makes sense. As singers.
Instead of being like 1, 2, 3, then the singing comes in. It's more like, you know, 1, 2, and it comes in here and then stops and then comes back in, and like the rhythm is very unusual. But it was the challenge of that was kind of inspiring and enjoyable, and it felt like like nothing we've ever done. And with the instrumentation, Jeff would lay down some sort of basic track of you know, this little homemade kalimba. I'll grab it actually.
I found this in a junk shop and put a pickup on it. Someone had taken an old acoustic guitar and taken the bridge and put these strips of metal. And so I put a pickup on it and done some decoupage. But you basically, you know, you've got like a low note and then. So it's got this interesting sound, and because it's got the pickup and controls on it, I could run it through things, and so I'd make up loops of various things on that and speed up or slow down those loops so that you'd end up with I just ended up with a whole bunch of them. And so when we'd come to getting a melody and some words together, then I'd go into the computer and sit there with these words we'd written and just sort of hum the melody across various loops until I found one that sounded interesting. And a fair few of the songs, not all of them, but a few of them got written around loops that I'd made from that instrument. So that was another thing that was
a bit of a theme.
Yeah, and a challenge for doing it live.
Yeah.
That's the sound behind the song Sweet Lafayette. I was trying to work out.
Yes, it is.
What that sound was. It's almost Balinese.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. It's slowed down a bit, so it changes the timbre, but it's basically that.
Yeah.
It's that. That's the basic thing. Run through an amp, so it's all, you know, darkened down and a lot of reverb on it, and then slowed down as well, I think, too. So it's a little bit deeper.
So why is Snowcap Menace the title of the album?
Shall I fill that one?
Sure.
Yeah, so we're having trouble thinking of a title. Album titles can be a bugger. We're looking through, you know, so you're looking at the song titles and then looking at lyrics from them, and nothing was really sticking. And so I thought, well, what's the theme of the record? Well, a lot, you know, we wrote every song through this process of singing the songs backwards. So I again got out a reverse recording app on my phone and just started saying various things about that and then playing them backwards and seeing what they sounded like. And the first one that actually sounded like words was when I said singing backwards, and then I played it backwards and it went Snowcap Menace. There you go, Snowcap Menace, singing backwards in reverse. It's like
yep, that's the one.
It's like an infinite loop of the process.
So it's really just very silly and childish fun that has sort of developed into this record.
Unlike us, we're not childish.
And the interesting thing was that, so we would write, record, and then Jeff would mix each song in like a weekend. So we'd be done with it, and then a week or two later we'd do another one. So we never learned the songs. So by the time we had the full album, and then we had a festival booked, we're like, we've actually got to learn these songs.
Yeah,
you know,
like this song we haven't actually sung it since the day we wrote it.
Yeah.
And recorded it, and that was like, you know, 11 months ago.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that was a challenge. And then how do we perform them live, you know? So luckily I thought of Amy Valent-Curlis, who's a marimba player. She also plays vibes and other percussion. And I met her through Tanya Lee Davies. And I was like, I wonder if Amy would be interested, and that would really work to sort of have this rhythmic thing.
Yeah, tuned percussion
underneath.
To take the place of that funny thing. Yeah.
And luckily she was happy to.
So how have the songs developed live?
Well, you know, some of them we've, you know, taken an arrangement where we maybe had like, you know, 5 guitars or something on the record, and it's been pulled back to being just a pair of guitars and the marimba instead of that weird kalimba thing. And, you know, we just basically we'll just give a flavour of the recording, but we don't need to be beholden to trying to recreate it exactly, because that would, you know, to sort of try and loop that thing and then pitch it in the right spot, and it would take like 5 minutes before we could start every song. So we sort of threw that away and just went, we'll take the essential elements of the recording, being the tune percussion being one, the harmony singing being another, because every song, there's no song where there's a lead singer. It's always the two of us singing. So the main sort of sonic elements that it hangs around to me are the tune percussion and the harmony singing. And then we just sort of look at, you know, okay, this song I'm playing lap steel and you're playing fiddle, and there's some other instruments in there, but they're the two main things, so we'll play those, you know, or maybe I'm playing bass on one and Alison's playing electric guitar, and there's some other bits and pieces, but they're the main two, so we'll do that.
Yeah. So what guitars did you decide to use on stage? Because you have to cover quite a bit of sonic ground.
Yeah, I ended up creating a bit of a workload for myself.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I see there's a Dan Electro bass, 3/4 scale bass, the flat wound strings, that gets used on one.
Yeah, it's only on one song, but it has to be. It's got to be that bass. Yeah. Like it can't be. He can't do it on guitar. It wouldn't sound the same. Wouldn't sound right. No. So there's that. There's a Burns electric guitar that I used on a few. That was a 50th present for me from Alison, and it's
that's a yeah, it's quite a wild guitar. It's got a Bigsby on it, and I built a microphone into it so I can yell into it and stuff. And it's like the sort of United Nations guitar, made it English brand with a Japanese neck pickup, an Indian neck pickup, bridge pickup, an American Bigsby bridge, and an Austrian microphone built in. So it's, you know, trying to just sort of go around the globe with one instrument's appointments. I've got a Strat that I use for slide that has, again, some other weird Guiatone pickup at the bridge and a French Steimer pickup at the neck, and a little high-strung acoustic, and then an electric lap steel. And then that's my quiver. And then Alison.
Fiddle and just one guitar. So I'm lucky. I've only got the two things live. And I played a telly on the record, but our dear friend Chris Finnan over in South Australia, he came and saw us. We hung out with him and had lunch, and then he saw us play at Adelaide, and he was very pleased to see us playing together. And he'd never seen me play guitar before, I don't think, at all. No. And
he loved it.
He loved it, and he was quite moved, you know, and he was just so pleased for us. And anyway, a few days later, or a week or two later, a guitar-shaped box arrived at our door, and I said to Jeff, "Oh yeah, just what we need, another guitar." Ha ha ha! And he said, "It's not mine." And I'm like, "What?" So I open it, and Chris Finnan has given me one of his guitars, which is it's a Squire. It's like a jazz. What do they call it?
I don't even know the name. It's like a Jazzmaster shape, but it's like telly electronics.
Yeah, and it's just fantastic. And so that's now my high ace guitar. It's fantastic, beautiful guitar, and really means a lot to me, you know, to have this lovely gesture and gift from such a great man as Chris Finnan. So that's my setup with a few pedals, bit of fuzz.
Yeah, play the electric fiddle too. She plays a fiddle just through the amplifier.
Yeah. I've got an old Eston Super 20 amp that's Melbourne made in the 60s. So it's a beauty.
Yeah, it's kind of your signature sound, isn't it?
Yeah, love it.
So I've
got a lot less guitars to carry around than Jeff. Yeah.
How did you arrive at High Ace as the name for this project?
Again, just
in about 5 seconds.
Yeah, we just driving along and
in our High Ace.
And we're like, "Oh, what are we going to call it?" And I said to Alison, "What about High Ace but spelled like HIGH Ace?" And we went, "Oh yeah, okay, that'll do."
That'll do until we think of something better, and we haven't thought of anything better. So
it's either a dearth of imagination, or we're easily pleased, or it's actually a good name.
It just made us chuckle, and it's quite memorable. It just makes it difficult when people are trying to find us by Googling us, because they'll just get a whole bunch of stuff about vans.
Yeah, it's HIGH, 2 words.
Yeah.
High Ace.
Yeah, but still, so many people spell the van that way as well.
Right, yeah.
So High Ace music might be
a better option. It's not product placement.
No, but I wouldn't say no to a new one.
Yeah. Listening to you.
Yeah. 9 tracks on the album. Were there other tracks that you were playing around with that didn't make the cut?
No. We just stopped at a certain point. By the time we were thinking of it being, well, actually before the at least the last one, maybe 2 songs, definitely before the last song was written and recorded, someone had said, "I want to put this out and I want to put it out on vinyl." And so then that, sort of quickly went over to a website and looked at the ideal running times for vinyl and went, okay, so we're pretty, another sort of 5 or 6 minutes, and that'd be within the ideal run time. You can go a little bit longer, but this would be the perfect kind of run time to get, superior volume and sonics out of a vinyl LP. So we just went, okay, I think we might have written and recorded 2 more after that. And it was with the mindset of, well, 2 more songs, that'll kind of pull it up.
Yeah. So assuming all goes well and the High Ace project seems to be received well by audiences and the album comes out and that does well, if there was another High Ace album, would you go through the same process with the reverse app? Is that a rod you've made for your back?
Look, it's actually a really interesting way to write, because you don't have to sit down and think, what's this song going to be about? What
You don't sit there with a blank page even. And it's actually the opposite of a rod for your back. It's a process you can go to, and it kind of frees it up. So, you know, we're not emphatic. We're not emphatically going, that's the way we must write a song. But at the same time, it's a thing where you can just go, all right, do you want to write something today? And we can sit there and just start singing nonsense into the phone, and then flip it over and see what we've got.
Or we might come up with some other creative way of doing it, because you don't feel self-conscious when you're just saying, this sounds like this to me.
Yeah,
you're not saying, oh, this is something I've thought of and
dredged out of my soul, and now I've got to present it to you.
And you might go, I don't really like that, you know. So if
one of us goes, I don't know about that, there's no attachment.
There's no attachment to it. So it's actually a really enjoyable, and well, for me, I found it easier way of writing.
Maybe we'll try something different next time. We'll do it like Alison has to come up with words while she's hanging upside down.
Well, while you're sprinting up the road, we'll see.
Backwards.
Yeah, backwards. See, and just start yelling words. Yeah, perhaps. Who knows? But I actually think that I would be thinking more about including the marimba as much as possible, and I'd be thinking about the instrumentation of the band now.
Yeah, that's a point of difference, because we've done a few gigs with Amy, and it's really good, you know.
Love the marimba. Yeah,
it's a great sound. It's a really interesting blend, you know, 2 electric guitars for the most part with an acoustic marimba.
And that mesmeric sort of, you know, rhythm that's running through and you just get into this groove, you know, like Sweet Lafayette, you were saying, just that. So Amy recreates that. And so
that would be something that would be a point of difference next time around. Is we'd be definitely looking at having Amy play with us, and so that, you know, changes things from the first time around, which was just purely us making each song piecemeal from the ground up, bit by bit,
and basically plugging in electric guitars for a couple of them, and hitting the fuzz pedal, and just going fully sick. So our neighbours were
we got treated to some wild days. There's one song, Poison Hemlock, where I had this, you know, kalimba loop going, and we hadn't really had didn't have the structure of the song, but I liked this groove, and I thought this would be a good chance for us to get wild. And so I would just play for like well, on that one it was individually, so I went I came out of the garage, and Alison was upstairs with the kids, and she goes, well, that sounded pretty demonic.
Yeah.
It was just like all sorts of noise and shrieking coming from downstairs, and then she went and did the same.
It's like, your turn.
Yeah. You know, go down and just arc up and play for like 20 minutes straight with just a wall of fuzz.
You know how they say, like, you know, dance like there's no one watching? Well, play fuzz guitar like there's no one listening.
Yeah.
And just go for it, you know.
Play fuzz guitar like you don't care who you annoy.
Yeah. There's the next title for the next album.
So what's on for the rest of the year now?
Well, we are planning some shows along the East Coast.
Yeah, August.
We've got an album launch coming up in July.
It's July 30, isn't it?
I believe so, at the Brunswick Ballroom.
Yep.
And so a few shows.
Yeah, album's coming out in 2 weeks, or just under 2 weeks. So it's all, you know, we're gearing up for that. And
another film clip to come.
Yep, another film clip to come soon.
Yeah.
Alison and Jeff, it's been great to catch up, and good luck with it all.
Well, thanks so much for your time, Greg.
Cheers, mate.